And Democratic strategist Margie Omero, thank you both for joining me.
Good evening, Reverend.
Joe, a majority of Americans say the GOP is too extreme. What will it take for Republicans to change their ways?
No, it takes changing their leadership. You have the Speaker of the House who will probably go down in history as the worst Speaker of the House, I think, in modern political history. There's a situation here where he's the big dog in terms of his title, but the tail is wagging the dog. You also have a party that doesn't have courage because Grover Norquist has them signed to a pledge other than the Constitution that now he has thrown them under the bus. All of this time, do not raise taxes on anybody. And Grover Norquist just said, okay, I'll take Plan B as long as it screws poor people. Here you have a president who is transformational. This is what we can say about President Obama. You have a leader of the Republican Party, at least in the House, who at best is no more than transactional, and he's not good at that.
Well, he's not even transacting well with the members of his own caucus. But let me go to you on this, Margie. When you look at the right wing and the lessons they seem to have not learned from the election, George Will wrote a column. Let me go there. We spent a lot of time this year talking about voter suppression on this show. He wrote in his column, quote, a small voting requirement such as registration acts to filter potential voters with the weakest motivations. He goes on to say, as indifferent or reluctant voters are nagged to the polls or someday prodded there by monetary penalty for non-voting, the caliber of the electorate must decline. I mean, what does that mean? And how insensitive are we to the democratic principles of people voting when you have this kind of view among those that are supposed to be the more enlightened conservatives?
Right. It isn't just any one columnist or any one elected official or any one candidate or losing candidate. It's really the entire party. And extreme is great if you're a snowboarder or a stick of gum, but it's not leadership. And it's really troubling in the poll that even a fifth of Republicans say that their own party has become too extreme. And I think it's something that should be part of all the Republican self-reflection that's going on. You're certainly not seeing it in the Plan B, where they want to make cuts to food stamps and food to hungry children and raise taxes on 25 million American families. You're not seeing it in the language on guns, where you have a lot of elected officials say, you know, we should be arming teachers and putting more guns in schools and in daycares. That's our solution. And so I don't really see a lot of evidence that Republican leadership or Republican rank and file or thinkers are using this election as an opportunity to learn something about where they are and where voters are.
Well, Joe, in support of Margie's claim about what she doesn't see, let's look at a couple of highlights of what the GOP has done since the election. They've walked away from the fiscal cliff deal. They passed anti-union laws in Michigan, proposed new schemes to rig electoral college, planned new anti-choice bills in states like Michigan, Arkansas, and Texas. I mean, it's almost like the election never happened.
Absolutely, and it's almost like not only didn't the election happen, but they obviously forgot who won and
right.
On what basis they won. Look, this was they had during the primary one of the most tenacious, one of the most ridiculous. You just played a lot of clips. I mean, you left out some of the really good ones, didn't you? You know, about not forgetting what departments he wanted to cut. That was Rick Perry, right. The welfare president. I mean, they had all those debates. People got to see and decide, look, all of these guys are extreme, every last one of them. And then they claim, oh, we didn't have the best candidate, who, by the way, tried to go to the center, and folks figured that out. They underestimated the fact, Reverend Sharpton, that they're playing to a small small minority. They keep playing to this loud, small minority where most of America has moved on, including their children, the younger generation. That's where they're failing.
Well, Marge, when you listen to Joe say that, the statistics bear him out. A poll, an NBC Wall Street Journal poll, says the favorability among Republicans now is 30%. That's a 10-year low. And while we're dealing with critical issues, we're about to go over the fiscal cliff if we're not careful. We're on the verge of that anyway. Fox News, they decide the war on Christmas is the big story and interviews Santa Claus. Watch this.
Santa, if you will. Well, I understand you don't like to say happy holidays. Why?
I can't find any reference where Santa's ever said anything other than Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
What do you make of the political correctness part of our culture?
You have got the biggest belt buckle I have ever seen, Santa.
I like to say that the elves got the idea from Elvis.
So they're in denial, Marge. They're arguing about side issues. I mean, it is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, look, ultimately, voters want to see their elected officials in Washington get to work and not really engage in kind of the sideshows and the political back and forth. Republicans are likely to pay a larger political price if we go over the fiscal cliff. Poll after poll after poll shows a majority of Americans would blame Republicans rather than the president. And even Republicans want to see the wealthy pay a bit more in taxes.
Well, we're going to have to leave it there. Joe Madison, Margie Omero, thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Happy Christmas, holiday, holy day, whatever other. Just
happy holidays and Merry
live
Christmas to
life.
everybody.
Be happy we're alive and healthy. And God
Still
bless
ahead,
the folks in
when the
Connecticut.
GOP can't find